Spanish director Galder Gaztelu-Urrutia presents a chilling metaphor for capitalism in his latest movie called The Platform. In it, inmates are housed in a vertical prison that looks like a high-rise extending underground instead of skywards. However, there's an unusual reward for the inmates who enter voluntarily: a university degree.
Me gustaría contarle por qué estoy aquí.
¿Para qué?
Para que usted luego me cuente por qué está aquí. Obvio. Yo quería dejar de fumar y leer el Quijote. Me dijeron que podía traer un objeto y pensé que nunca había leído.
¿Usted voluntariamente?
6 meses a cambio de un título homologado, sí.
The problem is the conditions in the prison are so brutal that few make it out alive. That's because food isn't carefully portioned out by prison employees, but is rather lowered on a platform, stopping at each floor for exactly 1 minute, where inmates are free to gorge. Those at the top always eat more than they need to. Consequently, food rarely makes it down all 333 levels. It usually runs out at about the 50th floor, leaving the remaining prisoners to starve for a full month. After that, the prison is flooded with gas to render the prisoners unconscious. Prison employees reassign prisoners to new floors while they're asleep, and the process starts again. This system mimics capitalism, where the rich have more money than they need, the middle class just barely has enough, and the poor barely have anything at all. At any given time, 2/3 of the prisoners are starving. Some commit suicide by throwing themselves down the hole. The starving inmates sometimes eat these poor souls to stay alive. At other times, inmates kill each other for food. Our main character is Goreng. All we know about him is that he entered the prison voluntarily to receive a degree, and that he chose to bring a copy of Don Quixote de la Mancha with him. This seems to be a metaphor for Goreng's situation in the prison. He's on a quixotic quest to force the inmates to share food, just as Don Quixote wanted to bring back chivalric values to Spain. His floormate, Trimagasi, brings a self-sharpening chef's knife, which belies the violent nature of his character. Goreng's nightmare begins as he awakens and finds himself on level 48. Soon thereafter, the platform lowers onto his floor. Trimagasi gorges, but Goreng is disgusted by what is obviously picked over food. However, within a few days, Goreng eats as heartily as Trimagasi because he has no other options. After a month on level 48, Goreng and Trimagasi are reassigned to a floor where the platform always arrives empty. Trimagasi ties Goreng to a bed and says he will cut strips of flesh off his body for food and will allow Goreng to eat them as well.
Pasados 8 días, le iré cortando pedazos de carne, y cada vez que lo haga, procuraré curar sus heridas. Además de darle su parte.
¿Una parte de mí mismo?
Piense en su supervivencia y ayúdeme.
However, another inmate, Maharu, who is constantly searching for her lost son, ruins his plans after she descends on the platform and slits Trimagasi's throat just as he's cutting into Goreng. After Trimagasi's death, Goreng receives a new floormate, Imagiri. She was the prison administrator who interviewed Goreng. She eventually hangs herself when she discovers she's going to starve, thus allowing Goreng to eat her body. Goreng's final floormate is Baharat. They're both assigned to the 6th floor. Baharat hopes to escape with the rope he brought by climbing up the shaft in the center of the prison. He asks the prisoners on level 5 to help him by catching his rope as he throws it up. However, as he climbs, the prisoner above him shits on his face. Both men at this point realize getting out of the prison alive is unlikely, so they devise a plan to help the prisoners on the lower levels survive.
Ayúdame a bajar. Nos armamos con lo que sea. Subimos a la plataforma, repartimos en cada nivel lo justo y necesario para sobrevivir. Yo soy lo imposible, pero juntos sí.
They disassemble their beds and use the metal rods as clubs. They then descend the platform. Their intent is to force people on the upper levels to not eat for one day. If they refuse, they'll receive a beating. By doing this, Baharat has become Goreng's Sancho Panza. As they descend, however, they wind up beating more people than they convince. They eventually reach one of Baharat's former floormates, whom Baharat refers to as a wise man. He advises them to first explain to the prisoners their intentions.
Perdón, señor. Bajad los dos ahora mismo. Estáis pisando la comida, estúpidos.
¿Qué coño es este tío?
Un hombre sabio. ¿Y no has aprendido nada de lo que te enseñé?
Señor, estamos intentando llevar alimentos a todos los niveles.
Eso está muy bien. Muy bien. Pero la educación es lo primero. Convencer antes que vencer.
Ya. ¿Y si lo convencemos?
Entonces palo. Pero primero diálogo.
Also, he insists they must save a meticulously prepared dish of panna cotta and send it back on the platform to show the administrators the prisoners aren't brutes. The plan seems to work until they reach a floor where inmates are in the middle of stabbing Maharo to death. Goreng and Baharat fight to protect her, but they fail, and in the process receive horrible beatings themselves. They continue descending until they reach the final floor, where they find a little girl, no more than 6. They decide to feed her the panna cotta because they have no other food for her, and reach the conclusion that they should send up the girl on the platform to demonstrate the barbarity of the administrators for imprisoning a child. Thanks, and always remember to like, subscribe, and share.